I mean, it is unfair to compare a 9-year-old saw with a brand new saw that's gone through lots of developments. The motor seems really crisp, really quick to kind of kick in and to cut out. No faults whatsoever with the TS65. Went back, I do exactly the same thing again. I love this saw. It has been a game changer, really. It's enabled me to do things, wardrobes and stuff like that, which I probably wouldn't have been able to do quite as well without having a track saw. And, you know, I don't regret spending the money on the Festool. People, you know, moan at you for buying the Festool tools as if it's the, you know, a concern of them. And you think, oh, what car do you drive? You know, not everything's built equally. And okay, you don't have to look far in my workshop to see it quite like my Festool tools. Not all my stuff's Festool. The Carvex put me off that. So I've got my cordless stuff is Makita, and my corded stuff is Festool. I have had what got me started, the kind of gateway drug, is the TS65, which has been an awesome saw. I got this in 2013, so it's getting on a bit now. It has done me a brilliant job. This one is 110, and that is the main downside to it, actually. It's a little bit gutless. The power has always been a little bit under. Often depends on how far away you are from the box, the transformer box, how big a transformer you're using. At the moment, I've killed 2 of my big transformers. I've got one little one left, and I can't begrudge getting any more. I don't want to work on big sites, and I've been slowly transitioning over to 240 or cordless. In the workshop, I'm connected. All my tools get connected to hoses, so it kind of feels pointless for me to have a cordless track saw. It's mainly used for cutting ply, and I'd say in the last 10 years that I've had this, or nearly 10 years that I've had this, I've used it more days than I haven't. It's used every day. It's probably one of the first tools I'd replace. And I always said that if this broke, I'd buy another one straight away. It hasn't broke, but in the summer I was doing a job, a kitchen, and I had what happens to us all, I'm sure, a kickback on the saw, which damaged the worktop. Luckily, it didn't damage my guide rails or me, and the worktop was fixable. It was in a position where I was able to fix it, but it really did annoy me. You know, it's one of these things you really beat yourself up about. So when I saw Festool got a new saw coming out with anti-kickback, I thought, well, this saw's 9.5 years old. Maybe it's time to upgrade and replace it. So I looked, and I liked the sound of the TS60. The 5mm extra cut doesn't sound like much, but when you're cutting on a 45, it means you can cut 2-inch timbers on a 45-degree cut. Not that I do much of that, it's mainly for ply. I've had some criticisms it's got no riving knife, which is true, but comparing them together, it's got a much bigger motor. I can go 240 with this, it go on my new extractors that I've got, rather than on my old 110 one, which is the old MIDI, which has got what everyone's got. It's all battered and bruised, and it's got the anti-kickback technology, which when you kind of come back, it stops it instantly and allows you to start again straight away. So that's kind of why I upgraded, and I've not had much time to use it yet, but I think as an initial kind of first look, it was probably worth comparing the two. Between the TS60 and the TS55, you see this one's quite a bit of a bigger saw. Not a huge amount, it's got a bit more weight to it. One thing I really like is that when you lay it on its side blade change, it lays flat, whereas this one, the motor sticks out, it doesn't. So this one's quite flush along the one side of the rail. I love, there's this little detail I love, just somewhere to hook your cable out the way. I mean, oh my God, that's so good. It just keeps it out the way of the rail. I'm going to make a boom arm to go in the workshop anyway, but I think that's going to make such a difference to me using it. Just not catching on the rail all the time, or having to. You end up picking this saw, the 55, you kind of always end up picking it up and looping your arm round to do it. So that's going to stop this. You can also use this on the new rails, the rails for the HWKs or whatever they're called, for kind of doing miters and stuff. So what it means is, actually, if I go on site, it might say save me taking my miter saw. If I buy one of these rails that you can adjust the angles on, it could just mean that this is one saw to go and do a few jobs, especially roofing and things like that. So maybe it's useful for that. But I think this is mainly going to be a workshop for, mainly for plywood. Again, that's why the lack of riding knife doesn't worry me. I've got a table saw for that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think I'll be getting rid of this 55 now. It's done me well. I've got through about 40 blades, if not more. I've got a stack of them there and there, of the old blades. And it's been a brilliant saw. I know it gets a lot of flack, Festool, all that kind of stuff. But honestly, it's superb. Dust extraction seems to me to be second to none. Cut and ply. You know, I had this when track saws weren't quite as common as they are now. And it's enabled me to have in my little workshop to be able to cut ply, kind of, you know, workshop precision, like I'm using a big panel saw. But it's even better. Some of the stuff I cut isn't square, and you know, being able to take 1/4 mil off to nothing across the length of a 8-foot sheet of ply is really good. So I'd never be without a track saw, and so far I've only used this for a couple of cuts. But I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. But I'm really happy with it so far, and we'll see how it does, and I'll report back.